Iran, Constantine now. The Turkish don't allow Russian transit through Istanbul to Mexico any longer. Hamas wants Russia to act as a peace guarantor. Russian-paid Moldovians want to take over Moldova, sitting in Moscow. Argentina is to become a NATO partner. A large volcano erupts in Indonesia. The sights are incredible. Best Russian chemists are shipped to China in large quantities, courtesy of Russian government. The last remaining Lenin museum in Finland is closing its doors. And the biggest news of the week is that the European Union, led by the French, is getting serious fighting Russian fake news and propaganda at last. Howdy, howdy, friends. My name is Konstantin, and welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. Every Wednesday, I give you Russian take on important world news. And let's jump straight to news number one. And let's start with something nice today. Have you ever driven a Porsche? If you haven't, you should consider after watching this. This is actually the best advertising I've ever seen for any car. Check this out. This is Dubai, after the recent mega storm that I covered in the previous news update. And that is an all-electrical Porsche Taycan. Not only Porsche can drive, it can swim. Check this incredible car out. Wow. Just wow. New slogan for Porsche cars. Exciting driving, confident sailing. Oh, thank goodness I don't write slogans for living. The next news is Iran is threatening everyone. Now it threatens Israel, saying that if there's a retaliation of its recent attack on Israel, I remind you, Iran recently launched hundreds of drones and missiles into Israel. So they're saying if there's a retaliation from Israel, Iran will show Israel. Iran will show them. Iran will show everybody. Iran is threatening everyone. Well, that's hardly news. But what is news is that Iran is threatening even me. It threatened me recently. Yeah, that's right. I was taking my son to a usual ice hockey practice here in Tashkent and ran into Team Iran. That's ice hockey Team Iran. That's news in itself. In Uzbekistan, right now, there's a tournament going on. It's called Asian and Pan-Oceania Games or something like that. I didn't even know they play ice hockey, but they do. So I was going to pick up my son after he was done with his physical training, and I was walking by a locker room. And I literally walked by a wrong locker room. Team Iran was preparing to play Team Uzbekistan. A few guys were warming up in the corridor, throwing tennis ball to each other, and most likely goalies. I didn't even know who they were, what country they were from. Cool, I said. Let me take a selfie with you, fellas. Oh boy. I quickly learned that they were Iranians, and the entire team started screaming, no photo, cursing at me in English I couldn't understand, or at Iranian at Farsi or something. Very aggressive. Well, I figured they must watch my news update blogs every Wednesday, where Iran is featured often. Oh well. Team Kuwait and Team Thailand were absolutely cool with me hanging out with them, filming them and taking selfies with them. Iran lost to Uzbekistan 19-0 anyway. Perhaps it's news to you, but Iran wasn't always like that, believe it or not. It was a normal country before 1979. And of course, It's not really news, but I'd like to remind you. I'd like to show you some pictures. Yeah, they're slick ones. This is how just normal Iranian day looked like for some people, for the Iranians. Yeah, nice. It's actually looks decent, you know. People are normal, dressed normal, different colors. Was black and white picture, but I'm pretty sure that the women wear nice different color clothing. And if you showed me this picture, I'd tell you, hey, this is, I don't know, any country, any normal country in the 70s, right? Beautiful girls wearing, you know, dresses, bikinis. It's totally fine. Well, it's been 45 years since the Islamic Revolution took place, and look what Iran has turned into. Whoops. This actually looks quite different from 1979 or 1978, 1977. Iran today. And now Iran is threatening everyone, even me. And the next news is scandal. In the very heart of Asia Minor, in Istanbul, Turkey, Russians are not allowed to use Turkish Airlines. Well, some Russians at least. Those who head to Latin America, Mexico, and other countries, and they use Istanbul as a transit. And Istanbul is a huge hub for international travel, especially now. Russians don't really have many options to fly to different parts of the world because, you know, flights are banned to many countries. So they use Istanbul and Dubai, two most convenient airports right now. Istanbul is closer to Russia, Dubai is a little far. And in Istanbul, there are troubles. It is official now. More than 1,000 Russians, 1,000 Russian nationals were not allowed to board flights departing to Mexico and other Latin American countries. The last time a group of 30 people was taken off flight to Mexico. And there's a guy behind the camera, and he's basically filming everything, and he's telling how he departed St. Petersburg, Russia, and then he was going to Mexico, and then through Istanbul, and he was heading to the Madonna concert of Madonna. He bought very expensive ticket. He had hotel paid for. I think Madonna was just a cover. You know, his real goal was the USA, but you know, who knows? Could be real deal. And he's just telling his story, how they didn't let him on the plane. Basically, a lady was checking him in, and she saw his Russian passport, and she just took his ticket boarding pass, and, you know, she destroyed it, basically. Well, the explanation is simple and absolutely brutally honest. Mexico doesn't want Russians because Russians run to the USA through Mexico. Russian embassy is hissing, of course, giving the Turkish officials a diplomatic note. But what can they do? If Mexico asks Turkey not to let Russians transit, Turkey will comply. And I'm torn apart by this decision. On one hand, I understand. That's what you get when you turn a pariah state and start killing your neighbors. That's, you know, I've seen it coming for a long time, and I find it fair and deserved. On the other hand, every time a family is taken off a plane that is heading some place it wants to find home, you know, it has plans for, every family is taken off a plane like that. It's a personal tragedy. I know these people well. I've met them. I advise them. I meet them at the Tashkent Breakfast Club every morning, you know. Perhaps I even advised to go to one of the people who was taken off plane in Turkey. I'm friends with them. I am one of them. Russians outside Russia now are beggars, not choosers. They run away from evil that is consuming their country, and they just want to find a new home and start fresh. That's on the other hand. What do you think? Shall they be allowed to fly, or the Turks are right taking them off the planes? Do they deserve mercy, or it serves them well? Please let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear from you on that. Thank you. The head of political wing of Palestinian Hamas movement, party, whatever it is, Ismail Haniyeh, said that he would like to see Russia among the guarantors of security for Gaza. Turkey is ready to act as a peace guarantor for Palestine through its military presence in the region. I quote, "Our demands in this matter remain intact. We want Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, Russia, and the United Nations to be guarantors." End quote. There's a lot happening around Palestine right now, and I'm pretty sure that sooner or later the bad guys will be taken care of, and justice will be served to them, and the normal countries will step in as guarantors, whose words can be actually trusted. Palestine. Look what happened to Armenia. Russia was guaranteeing its safety from Azerbaijan, and look at Armenia now. So think twice. I know it's different, but still, think twice. Is Russia the country to whose word you can trust? The next news. So-called Congress of so-called opposition of Moldova was held in Moscow last week. Moldova. Moscow. What the heck? Well, there the creation of a political party with the name Victory was announced. The Victory will attempt to fight for power in the next presidential and subsequent parliamentary elections in Moldova. And check this out. This fella right here, he's supposed to be the leader of Moldovan so-called opposition. He's announcing that a new party is born. That party is called the Victory. And then he starts telling how bad things in Moldova are. You know, how they cannot stand what's happening to the country any longer. That the country is falling into poverty. It's on the wrong course. It's so terrible there. There's no freedom of speech there. There's totalitarianism, complete poverty in Moldova. And the more I was listening to this fellow, the more my eyes becoming bigger and bigger. So he announces that this new party is going to fight, well, to run for president elections and then subsequent parliamentary elections. Look at these faces. Oh, it's broadcasted by RT Russia Today, which is very known for its broadcasts of the news that I'm going to be talking about at the very end of the stream. Look at the enthusiasm of the crowd. Not that great, you know. Paid actors, most likely. And then at the end, everyone stands. You see, that place is not big. They're just like 100 people or so, perhaps a couple hundred. Hardly a Congress. Victory, that is. Hardly in Congress. The very fact that so-called Congress was held in Moscow, Russia, not in Moldova, in Moscow, as well as the personalities who gathered at this so-called Congress, shows crystal clear that Moldova has been chosen as the Kremlin's next target. With the help of this, I was going to say traitors, but I don't like this word. Okay, with the help of this clown show, this clown show was held, and this guy who led the clown show is convicted criminal. Elan Shor, that's his name. he was talking about lack of freedom of speech in Moldova. Well, Moldova is aiming to join the European Union, and that's what these clowns want to prevent, obviously. And how a country that doesn't have freedom of speech can be accepted as a part of EU family? There's no way. But this guy is saying that situation is terrible. No freedom of speech, poverty, totalitarianism, and so forth, you know. So shows you how serious this guy is. He is promising that the efforts will be made to prevent Moldova from joining the EU and return it to Moscow's control. Well, that's the main goal. Those clowns disregard that according to all possible polls done in Moldova, the absolute majority of Moldovan people, citizens, are in favor of unification their country with the European Union. But these clowns don't care, because to them money doesn't smell. They're held in this Congress in Moscow, Russia. Do you find anything strange about that? And then on top of that, Sergei Lavrov, Russian Foreign Relations Minister, recently said, I quote, "The West is turning Maya Sandu, the current Moldovan president, into a person that is openly dragging Moldova into NATO," end quote. But you know what? I don't see anything wrong with that. Moldova, if you want to join NATO, go for it as soon as possible. You have my permission as a Russian citizen to do that. I don't object. I actually like to see you as a part of NATO family and a part of European Union family. Do as your people want to do. Okay? Just be careful, because those men in Moscow, I mean, they're not to be taken lightly. They're backed out by a force, a very dark force, a force of evil, you know. Today, the degree of security in Moldova is determined by the situation in the front lines in Ukraine, you know. I really would like to hope that the leadership of the Republic of Moldova will find ways to protect itself and its sovereignty. And the next news is terrible for Putin. Absolutely terrible. And it comes from far away, where Russians are not allowed to fly through Istanbul anymore. The news comes from Argentina. Argentina has applied to join NATO as a global partner. Imagine this. A few short months ago, Vladimir Putin saw Argentina joining BRICS countries in his dream. And now Argentina is or will become soon a global partner of NATO. Things change these days, you know, Vladimir. Think about that. You are sitting in the Kremlin today. Forgive me. Not in the Kremlin, but in the Kremlin's bunker, most likely. And where will you be sitting tomorrow? Perhaps in the Netherlands, in a small but a beautiful city? Who knows? And to Argentina, you rock. You go, Argentina. You go and join NATO. Among other news, now I'd like to ask you a couple things. Number 1, please hit the like button. Number 2, please subscribe so you won't miss anything. Number 3, please share this in your social media accounts. Reddit, among others, would be absolutely fantastic. And number 4, please let me know which news you liked the most, or perhaps you disliked something. I need your feedback because I want to improve. I want to make my Wednesday updates better and better. Thank you. Now, look at these scenes. I will show you now. This scene of a volcano. Volcano eruption in Indonesia. It's extremely dangerous, but look how beautiful. And I'm going to show you some pictures.
Allah, orang so lari semua. Masuk
You
sana.
know, I've always wondered how people live so close to volcanoes
Ya
like
Allah.
this.
Hasbunallah, ni'mal
How
wakil,
they're
ni'mal
not
maula, ni'mal
scared?
nasir,
How,
la hawla.
and this volcano, this particular place is in the belt of fire. That's volcano intense territory.
Ya Allah, orang so lari semua. Masuk sana.
It amazes me.
Ya Allah.
The
Hasbunallah,
eruption
ni'mal
of
wakil, ni'mal maula,
Mount
ni'mal
in
nasir, la
Indonesia.
hawla.
Over the past couple days, the volcano has thrown a column of ash more than 300 meters or 1,500 feet high into the air. And as a result, the authorities ordered the evacuation of residents of nearby island. 11,000 people have already evacuated. As far as we know at this point, no one has been injured. Mother Nature is just powerful. Well, guess what? Putin just suffered a pretty bad news again. He suffered a pretty bad news week this past week. Argentina first, then a blow from France. Yes, France. French court has arrested Putin's ex-wife's villa in the southwest of France. This is the design project of this villa, and you can tell that it's not cheap. It is not cheap, you know, in France especially. Looks kind of odd to me from afar, but perhaps it looks better in real life. Let's check this out. We certainly do see that it does belong to Putin's relative or ex-wife, because the signs on the walls and on the doors, they also tell us that the locals know who this place belongs to. Yep. I have nothing to add to that. Viva France. The next news is odd among other odd news. Perhaps odder. But you go, kind of runs well with other news of Russia Chinesificating. The 58th International Mendeleev Olympics has started in Shenzhen, China. That's a large city in China. It's the Olympics for chemistry students and scientists. The organizers are traditionally the faculty. Is this the right word, right? Of Chemistry of Moscow Department, Moscow State University, and the Melnichenko Foundation. That's a big-time investor, originally from Russia, but he moved to the USA a long time ago, and he's one of the initial investors into Facebook, very rich guy. So he established his own foundation in Russian, and, well, he likes chemistry, so he's running this Chemistry Olympics. So this is the Olympics number 58th. It means that there were 57 other Olympics before. And they all took place in Moscow, at Moscow State University. Well, obviously, it's organized by the Department of Chemistry, the Faculty of Chemistry of Moscow State University. This is the first time it has been held outside the CIS in China. China. The opening ceremony was attended by Russian and Chinese chemistry scientists, university professors, Minister of Education of Russian Federation Sergei Kravtsov, Consul General of Russia in Guangzhou Alexander Chernousov, and the founder of the Mendeleev Olympiad Partner Foundation Andrei Melnichenko. Now, that's odd. Why would Moscow State University do that? it needs to hold this Olympics in Moscow, in alma mater. That's where the whole, it's Russia's best school, right? But then, after giving it a little thought, I solved the puzzle. You see, that's harmful for Russia. I mean, you take your best scientists and students in chemistry and you bring them to China. That's very harmful. It's dangerous for Russia. Yes, but that is incredibly convenient for the Chinese. Russia's best chemists come to them. Instead of them going to Russia, scouting for the best chemists and hunting for them in the future, the Chinese look at them, they're right in front of them, and they make offers, perhaps secret offers, perhaps open offers, to move to China right there on the spot. Because China knows of importance of chemistry and science in general. China needs many good young chemists, and Russia doesn't. Russia needs cannon fodder these days. One of the biggest news of the week and of the month and probably of the last 6 months is that Joe Biden just signed Ukrainian military aid package a couple hours ago. The first rounds and missile systems are expected in Kyiv as soon as tomorrow, April 25th. This is huge, but I already covered it in my last live stream in details, explaining what will happen next in Ukraine and in Russia. Check it out. The link is right here if you have not watched it. An awesome news came from a Finnish city called Tampere. There, they decided to shut down the only operating Lenin museum in the world outside Russia. Check how this museum looks like. There's Lenin for you right there, and Stalin, and Russian, motorcyclist, German motorcycle. They stole the design and everything from Germans. The Lenin Museum in the Finnish city of Tampere became the first museum dedicated to Lenin outside the countries of the former USSR. The museum has been operating since 1946, and right now it's remained the only permanent Lenin museum outside Russia. The last day of its operation will be November 3rd, 2024. After that day, all exhibits will be dismantled. That's what I read in the news. Yahoo! Finnish people, shut it down. And then, please, not just dismantle all the exhibits, but burn them. Whew. Check this out again. Joe Stalin, Vladimir Lenin, all this Russian stuff. Ugh. Anyway, before I jump to the last and most important news of today, I'd like to let you know that if you want to get most current updates on Russia, I have them. I carefully select 9 news every day, and I find important and make them available to patrons at my Patreon account. Become a patron and you will become an expert on Russia. I'm going to put the link down below. Thank you. And the last but not least, the last news comes from France again. Or it'll be fair to say it originated from France, in France. To me, it's major news. The French government has proposed to the countries of the European Union to impose new sanctions against Russia to combat its disinformation. The French proposal was supported by Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, well, obviously, and then the Netherlands and Poland. It is clarified that such measures will allow the European Union to tighten restrictions against individuals and legal entities, companies, involved in Russian-sponsored destabilization activities around the world. Destabilization activities carried out by Russia-linked entities have also increased throughout Europe, not just everywhere. Europe is seeing a large spike, as the Russian regime has taken actions to undermine democracy, stability, and the rule of law through various hybrid tools. And that's what the text of the proposal says. And it looks like on the eve of the upcoming June elections, the European Union has made it its top priority to combat growing wave of Russian disinformation. Good. I realize how dangerous Russian disinformation is. I see it every single day. I see the results of the propaganda and disinformation. I see what it's done to Russians. It's turned them into people I don't want to be associated with. And I would hate to see something like that happening in Europe or anywhere else. So please, the French, thank you so much. And Europeans, watch out, be very careful. Have your head on the swivel, keep your eyes open, because propaganda is being spread. It's well-financed in Russia, and they're good. They're really, really good. So please, watch out. Don't let it happen to your countries. And this is it for the World News Update today. I suggest now you check out another video I made documenting how I was leaving Putin's Russia. The link is right here. Thank you.